So as you move along through high school, one of the things that you need to do is be reflective and really consider what worked and what didn't work. And what I've noticed is that a lot of students have asked me questions concerning what is going on that kind of is a telltale of either being absent or being tardy and therefore not and therefore missing pieces of information or not listening. We really have to, as we move on, and this is the whole point of Unit 1, we really have to start thinking about what it is to be in high school and what does it mean to be moving towards a professional life. And when you look at the three components of Unit 1 that we covered this past week, and that was the policies and procedures that we covered in the middle of the week, the syllabus that you got the first thing in the week, and how do I learn, and how am I going to be successful in high school? Do I want to be the person who tries very hard and just doesn't succeed, or do I want to be efficient with my time and develop skills that allow me to be successful relatively efficiently? So when we're looking at the syllabus, and there's going to be three components, two components really, to the exam on Monday. And the big one is the policies and procedures that we covered as a unit, as a group, on Wednesday as a whole ninth grade class. However, I know some people were absent. Some people had alternate classes. So I have emailed you the notes on that particular presentation. And I'm going to quickly touch on what I'm going to focus on my exam. I know Mr. Dissipata will be giving you an exam as well. But in biology, there's going to be some things I'm going to point out and focus on. And the whole point of the notes on the procedures and the policies is so that we're all on the same page. All right. We all want to be on the same page so that there's the minimal amount of miscommunication and of just general drama. So the thing is with the syllabus, you had a quiz on, and some of you did really poorly, which again went back to the idea you weren't listening. You didn't. Some of you have shared with me that you thought I was kidding, or you thought that the quiz was going to be a lot easier than it was. You have to assume that when a teacher in high school and later a professor in college says that you're going to get some kind of evaluation on a concept, on a certain set of material, that it's going to be serious. If it turns out to be easier than you had anticipated, then good for you. You end up with an A and you move on. However, if obviously, as so many of you found out, if the assessment tends to be more difficult than your estimation, then your grade suffers. And so you have a second chance now at this material, and you have 10 questions on the exam on Monday that are going to come from the syllabus. And what am I going to focus on with the syllabus? I'm going to focus on, what the percentages are for each of the categories. I'm going to focus on, what is covered in class, so the content. I'm going to focus on my expectations. How do we contact each other? So communication. Those kinds of things is what I'm going to focus on for those 10 questions. And, it's important to me that you know how to answer these three questions. Or, what am I studying? What am I expected to do in the classroom in the course of biology? And that's what we're talking about, honors biology. Okay, and how will I be evaluated in the course? I feel that if you, in order to be honest with you, and for you to be honest with me, I think you need to be, we need to be on the same page. Now, when we're talking about how to learn all this material that you're going to be learning this year in all these classes, we really have to talk about Cornell Notes, and that's something that uh, we discussed in class. Probably we focused on it probably 3 days out of the 5, and you had a quiz on a very short quiz on Cornell Notes on Friday. I think it's a process. I think Cornell Notes is a process, but I think there's some things that are key that you need to know before you start moving into practice. And what I mean by the word process is that it's not something that you memorize and you can regurgitate. It's something that you have to practice in order to become better at it. And it's something you'll be practicing your entire 4 years. And remember, we're here to not to prepare for high school, but to prepare for college and for graduate school. So the Cornell Notes is the kind of the foundation, I think, of that preparation. And the foundation is not, and I want to emphasize, is not the format, although the format is important, and you were tested on that format. I think a couple of you missed the quiz for whatever reason. So it's not just the format. It's really about the process and what does it mean to be successful? How do I study? So Cornell Notes really talks about how do I learn? And it emphasizes learning in a kind of action or verb sense. The word study really tends to mean very little to a lot of people. So, and when it does mean something, it means something different to different people. So we all have to get on the same page on what's going to be successful. And just do the process, and as you're doing the process, learning will come. How much learning and will it be good enough? That's all a matter of how hard you work. And remember, success is never guaranteed in any kind of endeavor. And we try our hardest, and sometimes we don't do well. But when we don't do well, we can learn from that. So it's all really about learning, and it's not about intelligence. A lot of people think that, that somehow I fail a test and that makes me not so intelligent. That's not true. What it's about is about preparation and performance. All right, let's go on to the next slide. So this is the handout I had given you, and this is Cornell Notes in a nutshell. And you see that, and we've talked about when things are. So those of you that haven't taken the Cornell Notes quiz or just have decided that they might want to retake the quiz because they didn't get 100%, it's a short quiz. And some of you, I think a couple of you went on some sporting event. I think there was a football scrimmage. You'll have an essay quiz. All remember, one of the procedures that are in the syllabus is that any time you miss a quiz or a test, it is an essay exam. And the reason is irrelevant, and the exam is not meant to be punitive. It is just a simple fact that if you miss the multiple choice version of the exam, you will have an essay. And sometimes the quiz is an essay in any case. So in any case, what we're talking about here is record, and so you have to write this stuff down that happens in class, and everything else really happens after class. And the emphasis that you have to be thinking about when you're thinking about Cornell Notes and what we do in our course, it's going to be the study groups, all right? So study groups are going to be a big deal for you, and you're going to have to perform in these study groups. It's going to be something that you're going to be held accountable both individually and as a group. So you'll have actual steps of Cornell Notes you'll have to do. You'll have to reduce as a group. You'll have to recite as a group. You'll have to reflect as a group, and you'll have to review as a group. And remember, the whole key and one very important concept when it comes to Cornell Notes is this revision piece. You have to revise. You have to add. You have to correct spelling. You have to summarize after the notes. And the expectation here is that you guys are going to be working about 20 minutes a night individually on reviewing the information, reciting. It might be 10, it might be 15, correcting spelling, adding material. Maybe you you do your reading for the week and you add to the material that was covered in class. You clarify. You write questions, and by this point, everyone should know where all this information is supposed to go. You will have your notes graded at least twice this quarter and twice next quarter. So I want to see some growth. I'd like to see you guys do well, and those of you that missed the quiz, this page is probably taking up the vast majority of it. This, along with how we learn, and those notes have also been sent to you. How we learn as far as the neuron and the neocortex and making connections between the neurons when you're learning something, and how do you stimulate that. So remember revision. Remember revision is a key to Cornell Notes. It's a key to learning, period. And remember that all 6 steps have to happen every week. And as a study group, you'll be doing this twice a week. Now remember, I will be there after school for an hour every day. I'll be there before school for half an hour. I'll be there for an hour before school, but you can get in at about 7:30. And also, we have Saturday schools, and you guys can meet at the library. You can use Google Hangout. A lot of the kids last year did Google Hangouts, and it worked out very well. Some people prefer Skype. So those are your options. I would suggest strongly that you work in groups to get this material done, and not just in this class, in all your classes. But I'll be focused, of course, in honors biology. So here you have your ninth grade common procedures, and for those of you that missed it, we had a study session, and each of your teachers listed here had something to say. I think Mr. Treppel took his upperclassmen out of the presentation center because of the presentation room, because there wasn't enough room. But everyone had something to say about the procedures, and it's important that you understand them. And I will test you on them, and it's a big test. Remember, tests are a particular percentage of your grade, and you should know that, and that will be tested. All right, let's move on to the next slide. I'm not going to emphasize a lot of this. You should know what is or is not important, and we've gone. You've been through it. If you were in the presentation room, you went through it, so it shouldn't be a big deal. But there's we need to control pests, and so you really need to have only water in the classroom. All right. I don't think that's really something I need to emphasize. I think this is the word common sense bothers me because common sense isn't so common. But you really need to be respectful of your environment, and I don't think I think this is something if I tested you on it, you would understand and know. And litter is something that really should not exist at the high school. I mean, it's your high school. It's your alma mater. You really need to think about how you respect your own home, your own environment, and litter in general is something that is not acceptable, right? So we would expect no one to litter, and we expect people to keep the areas clean and no vandalism. And as far as electronics are concerned, this is kind of an important point. Electronics, you have to focus on what the teacher's saying for you to do. There are times when electronics are very useful, and we really can't get away from using it in today's world. Your phones, your tablets, your computers, and the Chromebooks we'll have available for you in class are all going to be important to access knowledge, and we will be using it periodically, and if not most of the time. But there will be times when they're not acceptable, and so the teacher has to be your go-to person. You have to listen to instructions, and if you're told to put it away, just put it away. Texting, remember what we talked about in class. Any parent contact should be going through the office. So the office is going to be kind of the go-to center for all communication and decision making. Ultimately, everything's going to be decided in the office. So at some point, it's better not to have any kind of confusion when a teacher tells you to turn off your electronics or put them away. Just let's just do that. Dress code is listed here. It's clear. You can expect a question or two from dress code. I'm not going to go through it. I'm not going to argue it. It's not my dress code. It's a dress code for the district. It's going to again be decided by the principal or his designee. I have to tell you that the bottom line here though is that you will not get in the classroom without dress code. I will be monitored at the door. And I would know that if I were you by Monday. All right, so when you see me, and I tell you to go to the office because you're missing some dress code item, that's not a punishment. That's just me asking you to go to the office, get a note from them. They can contact your home. They can find out if there's something going on at home that you need help with. They might have extra ties for you. I know some of you don't like to wear other people's clothes. Well, make sure you have your own. In my opinion, if, especially with boots and ties, these are things that you can store in your locker, an extra tie, an extra set of, an extra pair of shoes that you might want to wear because you want to wear your boots to school and from school. Uh, that's a perfect thing to use for your locker. So I would consider organizing your locker as best you can. Tardy to school, you need a pass. You need a pass from the office. So if you're even 30 seconds late, once class starts, you need to get a blue pass. Come in, place the blue pass on the desk. Quickly sit down. Try not to ask any questions that might require the teacher to repeat stuff in class. Of course, our doors open after school and before school. The whole point is not to disrupt, right? Disrupt class. So we want to keep the class going. So no disruption. And of course, the time we're going to use is the time on our clocks, and I think that was made pretty clear. All right, so if you're tardy to class, and by the way, if you're tardy to class, you need to sign. You need a pass. If you don't have a pass, you will have a detention. All right, so you're going to have a detention. You have to serve detentions. All right, if you don't have a pass. If you have a pass, that's fine, but you're still going to have to sign in. All right, and you know what the form looks like. It'll be at the front by the door. Any of this is testable on Monday, so just know that. And this, Miss Simpson came up with the form, and I've tried to make it a little more personalized for our class. But in any case, the bottom line is, if you come in late, you have to sign in and add your parents' phone number. And if it becomes a chronic issue, we'll have to have a conference with your folks and figure out why you're coming late to class on a consistent basis. Oh, one more thing about tardies that I know I'm going to test, and I want to make sure that you understand, so there's no mistakes. And that's that if you're going to be tardy and you're sitting out, if you're in the building, I see you in the hallway at 7:30, and then you're late to homeroom with a blue pass. That's going to be an issue for me. You need to be, if you're in the building early, if you're in the building before class, before school, and you don't get to the classroom till 8:10, there's some games being played unless something else is going on. So I will be asking questions. Please don't be offended. Excuse absences, makeup work. All right. So as far as this is the makeup work procedure for the ninth grade. We've all agreed to it. What you remember and you need to remember from the syllabus, and this is one of those things that we'll add to the syllabus, and one of the things that I'm telling you that I verbally described to you is the policy in my class. And that's this idea of mastery. All right. So we're working on kind of a mastery component. And what mastery for me means that you're able to resubmit. All right. And what you have to do is prove you understand. If you can prove you understand, to me that really is the meat and potatoes of what we're doing here. But remember that just because I allow you to resubmit up to 3 or 4 days before the end of the quarter, that doesn't mean your other teachers will. So make sure you understand your individual teachers' policies, and don't get upset. It is a policy, it is a philosophy, it is an approach, and every teacher has a different approach. There's not to say one is better than the other, but it is just as simple. It's as simple as just having two different teachers and two different approaches, and that you're going to have to deal with that the rest of your career, the rest of your professional career. All right, appropriate classwork. You need to be doing if you're in biology, you need to be doing biology. You will have your materials removed. You will have your work confiscated. If you're doing English in without permission, and I can tell you, I will not be giving you permission to do other people's work in my class. If we are having class, it's because we are having class. It is a biology time, and it's not easy to to try to allow you to do you know English or math in my class when we don't have time for that. So with the shorter class times, and even if we had a full 80 minutes every day for the rest of the year, there's so much to learn. I would not want you doing anything but biology in our classroom. And I believe most of the other teachers feel the same. Scheduled departures, you have to remember that I am the one who's going to who's going to dismiss you, and sometimes that bell's going to ring, sometimes that a few seconds are going to pass and you're supposed to be on your way. I'm going to respect your time. I'm going to respect the fact that you don't have a lot of time to go from class A to class B. But if we're finishing an important idea that's going to get you ready for tomorrow's quiz, or is important for you to know for tomorrow's lab, I think that has to take precedence over just a few seconds of going over a few seconds. Not to mention the room has to be clean, and especially at the end of the day, and the stool's up, because we just don't want to abuse our cleaning staff. So, and it's a matter of pride as well. I don't think it's proper to walk around and just be slovenly just because we just were not thinking of it. And in our class, we will be thinking about it. All right, so you need to have an exit pass. You can't leave just because mom calls or texts. You need to have mom or dad call, or your guardian call the office, and they'll verify all the necessary information, and they'll give you an exit pass, and then you can leave for various reasons. If you do have an exit pass, you want to come up, and you could show it to me in the beginning of class or as you're on your way out. And as long as I know you're leaving and you have an exit pass, feel free to leave. Understand, it's your responsibility to make up that work. All right, so don't mess that up. Restroom and hall passes. There will be a restroom checkout sheet on the door right next to the tardy sheet. You need to fill those out on your way out. Your pass needs to be written in your planner. You need to put the time and where you're going, and its restroom. All other passes are gonna be rare. So just write your pass out, sign out, go to the restroom, and come back. And our real concern is your safety. We're responsible for you, and so we want to make sure that we're monitoring this. And if you're going to be absent a great deal, if you're going to go to the restroom every day at the third block, then I'm going to need to know why, and we're going to have to involve mom and dad at that point. So that really, you can go to the restroom at lunch. You can go to the restroom. You can go to the restroom when you need to go to the restroom. But if it's going to be a chronic issue, if it's every day or every every other day at the same time, and you have to go to the restroom, and you can't manage that well, then that's just a discussion we're going to have. No one's going to get upset. I'm not going to be upset. My concern is you're missing content. You're missing classroom material. All your papers that you're turning in need to have your headers. And I believe most of us were there when Miss Lloyd said, your first name, your last name, having your first name, your last name, your teacher's name, your course, and your date, and then the assignment label. It could be such and such homework. It could be such and such lab. Your first and last name. I understand you. Some of you have signed, and we've said this before. I'll say it here now. Print, please. Print as clearly as possible. It's difficult. I still have 3 or 4 assignments whose names I cannot read, and you have not come and seen me. So the use of Jupiter grades is another layer of this. You need to use Jupiter grades. You need to identify that you're missing work, and you need to come and see me after school or before school, and we need to deal with this. Otherwise, your grade is not going to be as high as you would like it to be. Again, a classroom teacher is the one who dismisses you. We will be respectful. I know I can speak for myself. I will be respectful of your time. I am working very hard to make sure you get out of our class exactly the time you need to get out. Late homework, we've discussed it. There's an exception to this policy. You can look at those other 3 bullet points here and know that is the policy of the other teachers, and you need to make sure that you're working on that. Substitute teachers. One more thing about late work. The biggest problem with late work, besides the fact you're putting extra pressure and work load on your teachers, which is already an issue for some of us, it's going to put a tremendous pressure on you. You are not going to be as successful as you could be because you're going to have a tremendous amount of work to do to catch up. And if you're not doing the work, you're not going to be able to catch up as well. And just all kinds of problems are going to come from that. So you really need to consider this as you're moving forward. If you keep up, if you don't let yourself get behind, you're going to be much more successful in high school. Substitute teachers, we will be in assigned seats throughout the year. We've assigned seats in most of the classes. I think there's 1 class left to assign seats. You need to be in those seats. I'm trying to learn your faces and names this weekend. I'm going to continue to learn. It'll probably take me another couple weeks to get everybody's name and face straight. However, I will have that substitute will have a seating chart. When other teachers are missing, I'm going to drop in whenever I can to make sure that everything is running well with the substitute. We will not have any kind of chaos just because a teacher is on a field trip or a teacher is in a professional development. Planners. Your planners are important. They will be checked periodically. They will be worth points. You need to plan. You need to put in the tests. In fact, I would venture that I would wonder if I did a pop quiz on Monday as I go around, as you're doing your tests, I go around and ask you to put your planners on your desk, and I check and see if you've written down that Monday you have a test and what it's on in biology. I wonder how many of you have actually done that. So it's important that you write that down. It's important that you write down your homework that's due and when things are due and how much time you're spending on it, so that you can appropriately reflect on what you need to do to improve. Hallway behavior, I think it's common sense. You should be quiet in the hallway. There shouldn't be any issues. I understand some of you aren't used to being quiet in the hallway. You should be in a straight line. I think that's the straight line part. I think is something everybody needs to be working on. A couple times I've seen you guys walk down the hallway in a kind of a I don't know what word to use, a cloud, kind of encompassing the entire hallway. I know you want to walk next to your friends. I know this is is a few minutes you have to go from A to B, and you can relax a little bit. I respect that. I wish it could happen, but remember, there are other classes in session, and there's 35 to 100 of you in the hallway, and the other classes are in session. The noise gets out of hand really quickly. So you need to keep quiet in the hallway, and as quiet as you can possibly be, if not silent, and in a straight line, and move from A to B without too much. Don't block the hallways or the doors for classrooms. Lunch, it's 11:57, 12:18. During our field trip, it'll be a little different, but that's another story. Field trips, the times will change, and we'll tell you on individual days what's going on there. Really, it's a key time to go to the restroom. So really, you should be doing. If you're going to work with teachers and you need to go to you need to be in the dining room. Unless you're going to go work with a teacher, you need to be in the dining room all the time. And honestly, you need to have a pass, with a written pass from a teacher, and I will be testing that if you want to walk through the halls without too much issues. Field trip eligibility, we're looking for GPA, attendance, classroom behavior in all the classes. If you are perfect in my class and we're having a field trip, and you just misbehave in Miss Lloyd's class all day long, you talk when you're not supposed to, you don't do her work, or even worse, what I consider even worse, I don't know. I'm not sure which is worse, misbehaving and interrupting the education of other people, or academically shutting down and not being successful yourself. Uh, I'm not sure. But in any case, classroom behavior or performance in the course. If you're behind in English, even though you're perfectly behaved, but you're behind in English, is it really a bright idea to go on a field trip? When you're so far behind. And of course, behavior wise, it's a matter of not causing a disruption on the field trip. And what are the odds of you behaving well? Well, the odds go up as you behave well in class. You will likely behave well on a field trip. Eligibility cards, kind of an easy procedure. Just lay it down on the desk. Go sit down before you leave. Pick them up. If you forget it, don't interrupt class. I mean, I don't think it's difficult. You get it the next day or whatever, but you don't interrupt class to get your card. Make it a priority. If it's a priority to you, make sure you're writing down. Tie a string to your finger, whatever it needs that you need to do to remind yourself in fact, if there's more than one of you on the same team in the classroom, then maybe you guys should remind each other about the eligibility cards. Emergency room procedures, obviously fire, tornado, code blue, code red. We've discussed it in class. We'll discuss it again throughout the year. What we're supposed to do, follow directions, and in every case, make sure you check in with me. I need to know where you are so I can tell your parents if something happens. Of course, these are all drills, but if something does happen, we need to be able to communicate to your parents what's going on. And that's it. I think if you quickly go over these, and you know what's in the syllabus, you know what percentage each of the categories are, you know what the content is, you know what the classroom rules are, you know about our resubmission policies. Remember, tests are the only assignment that cannot be resubmitted. A test is the only one that you cannot redo. Of course, makeup work is with an excuse signed off by the office. You can make up any work. That's not an issue. And I think that's it. That does it. I hope this helps, especially those of you that missed the big day on Wednesday, and for those of you that missed any kind of a assignment or day because of logistics. All right. Have a great weekend.